If you own a home in Waterloo Region or are thinking about buying or selling in this year, this video matters more than you might think because 2025 quietly changed the rules of our local housing market. Inventory's up, prices have adjusted down, buyers and sellers are no longer playing the same game they were even 2 years ago. And here's the part most headlines are missing. There is one specific property type that is now behaving completely different from the rest of the market. So stay tuned for that. And it's creating an opportunity for some homeowners, like downsizers, and risk for others. So stay with me until the end because I'll explain exactly what that property type is and what it means for you if you're thinking of moving this year. So how did 2025 end? Well, let's start with the big picture. Waterloo Region finished 2025 with 6,200 total home sales, which is down 9% from 24 and more than 25% below the 10-year average. What a difference. December alone saw 306 sales, which is also well below the historic norms. So this wasn't because homes suddenly became undesirable. It was a year defined by affordability challenges, economic uncertainty, and buyers being far more cautious than we've seen in a really long time. The result was market that slowed down, but also that started to rebalance. Prices, what actually happened, and not what you hear or read in the headlines. So let's talk prices because it's where the nuance matters. The average sale price across Waterloo Region in December was just about $717,000, which is down 6% year over year, but slightly higher than actually November. And that tells us something very important. Prices didn't collapse, they adjusted. And when we look at the full year, the average price across all property types declined about 3.7% compared to 2024. That's not a crash. Detached homes averaged $876,000 for the year, townhomes about $600,000, and condos about $437,000, and semis around $635,000. So this wasn't a free-for-all market. It was a market giving back some of the aggressive gains from 2021 and early 2022. So why then do benchmark prices matter more than averages? Well, this is where I want to pause for a moment because average prices can be misleading because they're influenced by what sells in a given month. And that's why I always look at the MLS Home Price Index benchmark, which tracks the value of a typical home. Now, by December 2025, the benchmark prices were down about 5 and 9% year over year, depending on the property type and location. In Kitchener-Waterloo, the composite benchmark sat at around $640,000. In Cambridge, it was higher at around roughly $674,000. So this confirms what many homeowners are really feeling. Values are softer than a year ago, but they're stabilizing, not spiraling out of control. And now let's talk about the biggest shift of 2025, and that's inventory. By the end of December, there were 1,100, almost 1,200 active listings, which is double the 10-year average for this time of year. And overall, inventory across all property types rose about 28%, pushing the market to around just over 2 months of supply. And here's where things start to split. Detached homes were sitting around just about 2 months worth of supply. Townhomes were closer to 3 months, but condominiums, well, that's nearly 5 to 6 months of supply. Remember I mentioned there's a key difference? Well, this is it. Condos versus houses may not be new to you, but they are two different markets now. Condos are now operating in a very different market than freehold homes. Higher supply, slower sales, and sharper price adjustments have created a window of opportunity for buyers and much more competitive environment for sellers. Detached homes, on the other hand, are still relatively constrained. They're taking longer to sell, but well-priced, well-prepared homes are still moving. This split matters because strategy in 2026 will depend heavily on what you own, not just exactly where you own it. And another sign, a healthier market, is days on market. And that means how long it takes to sell a property. So in December, the average days on market was 45 days, roughly, compared to 36 days a year earlier. And the 5-year average is 24 days. This is a return to normal. 10 years ago, days on market was 35 to 45 days range. And this means buyers have time to think. No time to see in 30 minutes and decide you want to buy it, property now. And sellers need to prepare properly, and pricing accurately from the start matters more than ever. What this means heading into 2026 then, we're no longer in a frenzy market, which I really think you know, and we're definitely not in a crash either. We're in a market that rewards clarity, preparation, and realistic expectations. You know, new government incentives for first-time buyers may help on the demand side, but I wouldn't put much money on that one. But inventory levels, especially for condos, suggest that balance, not boom, is the theme going forward. So if you're a homeowner, this is the moment to understand your specific position in the market. If you're thinking of moving in the next 12, 24 months, strategy matters more than timing the market perfectly. And here's what the key word is for 2026. It's confidence. Confidence is the bottleneck in this market. And markets don't move forward until confidence improves enough for people all at the same time. That's why rate cuts alone haven't flipped the switch. If you prepare and have done your due diligence, you will be well prepared in this market. And here's another video I think you'll find helpful.